This is a wrap-up video for the Atlas Stone World Record, which was done at the 2016 Arnold Classic. For this event, Rogue, it was called a Rogue Record Breaker, and MHP had a part in that. But what they did is basically offered on Sunday, which is after the contest gets done on Saturday night. So on Sunday, they offered me the opportunity to break the Atlas Stone World Record for the heaviest stone ever lifted. And I've actually held that record since 2010. So in order to break my own record, which was 550 pounds, they offered for me the opportunity to lift a 555-pound stone. So, you know, of course, going into the contest, I told them, you know, this is a big thing to have to prepare for outside of the Arnold Classic, which I'm already preparing for those events. So I told them that, you know, we'll see how I'm feeling. I couldn't guarantee them that I would do it or not do it, and that I would just have to let them know, and they were okay with that. So, you know, going into the Arnold, actually, I touched stones one time, which is kind of crazy. I basically just said, yeah, I'm gonna go up, and I loaded a 400-pound stone here in the gym before I went to the Arnold, which is obviously a long ways away from 555 pounds. But, you know, stones is one of those events where I'm very comfortable with it, and as long as I kind of, you know, feel it, it's almost like riding a bike in a way. I just have to feel the technique, and, you know, I knew I was strong enough to be able to do it. So, you know, going in, I didn't put any kind of priority on it at all with training. It was very much an afterthought, and, you know, I said the priority was getting ready for the Arnold Classic, and that I wasn't going to put a lot of energy and training into getting ready for this stone. So I got done with the competition and said, well, I'm pretty banged up here, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do this. And actually was, you know, obviously offered money from Rogue and MHP to break the record. And so that was already on the line. But Mark Bell and Slingshot, Mark had told me, hey, you know, if you do this, I want to pay you for it too, and be a part of it. And so I was like, all right. But I wasn't quite sure if he was being serious or not. And so the night, like after the contest was over, I was like, hey, I'm really debating here if I'm going to go for this stone or not. You know, were you being serious about paying me? And he said he was going to pay me $5,000 to do it. And I was like, all right, well, you know, but again, I wasn't sure. And so I texted him and said, hey man, were you being serious? And he's like, no, I wasn't being serious. He said, I've changed it now. I'm going to give you 10 grand if you do it. So I was like, well, you know, I'm banged up, you know, kind of sore and tired, whatever. But I said, all right, I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to see what I can do. And so I woke up and had to go down to the expo and start, you know, doing booth time for my sponsors, and went over to the stage right before the event and said, okay, I'm going to warm up and see how it feels. And I was actually very concerned with my hamstring injury, because obviously when you lift a stone, you definitely need your hamstring to be functioning to some extent. And so I, you know, kind of got put with my back against the wall, because obviously there's a lot of money now on the line to lift this stone, but I didn't want to hurt myself further and jeopardize anything with other contests coming up. So I got to warm up in the back. The only stone they brought for me to warm up, I believe, was 330 pounds. So literally that's all I had. I would have much rather had something in between 330 and 555, but that was all I had. So I lifted, warmed up, did as good of a warm up as I could, got myself ready to go, and lifted the 330 tentatively in the back. Felt all right. Obviously didn't feel anything pop further. So I was like, all right, well, let's just go see. But I was very nervous to attempt this, because I didn't want to get hurt further. But anyway, I just went out there and I got myself psyched up and said, you know, this is something that I'm fully capable of doing with lifting this stone. So a lot of people had made comments about it. You know, a lot of fans wanted to see it. And so I was like, you know, I'm going to go try to do it.
Let's go! He weighs in No one's ever really seen him weight. He claims to be only 420 pounds. 6'8" tall, 3 times world strongest man, 2 times Arnold champion, Brian Shaw!
And picked it up on my lap, and even when I was sitting there with the stone in my lap, I was like, you know, once I go to put this over, you know, I don't want to feel anything here. And luckily enough, you know, I felt fine and was able to throw it over the bar, you know, really easily, actually.
Come on.
Come on, Brian.
And I was very thankful to be able to do that with everything the way it was. So, you know, it's one of those things where I've said with the stones for a very long time. I mean, my ability with the stones is not at 555 pounds. We're not even close to what I could potentially lift with that event. And I've asked to, you know, it's pretty sad to me and disappointing that they've taken that event out of the Arnold Classic. And it's not one of the events that's contested, because I think lifting stones is such a primitive test of manhood, and it has been for hundreds and hundreds of years. And you know, I think the Arnold Classic is, I know for me at least, you know, before I even competed in the Arnold Classic, they brought out the big, you know, manhood stones, and it was one of the events that I look forward to personally the most. And that's right when I was first starting in the sport of strongman. So, you know, it's something I've looked forward to, and I know there's a lot of people out there that look forward to that and have been disappointed that that hasn't been in the contest. And that's another reason that I chose to do this lift, you know, to prove that there's a lot more that can be done with the weight of the stones. So, you know, hopefully I called it out after I was done with this lift on the stage. I said I wanted a 600-pound stone, you know, and I wanted it to be in the actual competition. So, you know, we'll see. I've asked for that for a long time, and it hasn't happened. So who knows if it'll come back in the contest, or, you know, maybe I'll have to lift it outside of the contest at some point next year. But anyway, I, you know, definitely want to send a big thanks to, you know, to Rogue and MHP for putting this record breaker event on, and especially huge thanks to Slingshot and Mark Bell, because, you know, especially after losing the Arnold and losing so much money there, literally by, you know, a very, very close margin, you know, him coming through and you know, throwing that 10,000 out for lifting a stone was awesome. And, you know, it just speaks, you know, very much to, you know, his character and him getting behind athletes and you know, sponsoring me and you know, giving back to the sport and giving back to the athletes. Like it's huge, and I can't thank him enough for that. And we're doing some big things. I mean, he's got some big plans, and you know, I've talked to him about a lot. So, you know, it's something that, you know, I would definitely say, like, all of these companies, you know, the more that you guys can support them, and it'll all grow together. You know, we're all trying to give something back to the sport. So, you know, definitely support them if you can. And like I said, huge thanks to Mark and Slingshot, because that was awesome. I mean, it's crazy to go over, and he just gave me all that money in cash right after I just went over to his booth, and like, it was crazy to just have that happen, and you know, for him to be so willing to do that. So anyway, big shout out to them, and I think we'll wrap it up there, and hopefully I'll get the opportunity to lift some even bigger stones in the future.